In this video, shots fired at South Africa's activist Mbuyiseni Ndlozi trades blows with prophet shepherd Bushiri in Malawi. So you are watching the Yao Bantu show. My name is Yao Bantu. Do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Aluta continua. Without further ado, let us watch and listen to a clip of Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's comments on Shepherd Bushiri.
Some of them are rich out of tithes and offerings. There is someone here in Malawi who is wanted in South Africa. I'm going to ask the minister to help me go past that house of that person and just tell him, there are questions for you there in South Africa that you must come answer. Whether you are a pastor or a politician, you don't have the right to steal from the poor. Not in the name of God, not in the name of our people. Now, this is what always has been at the center of Pan-African politics and the African Renaissance.
So Ndlozi is the former right-hand man of Julius Malema of the EFF. He made a rather controversial statement about the prophet Bushiri in Malawi last week at a public lecture at one of Malawi's universities, the Chancellor College of Malawi in Zomba. Now, so the context of the speech was that Mbuyiseni Ndlozi was invited to a public lecture in Malawi for the first time ever. I think it's the first time he's ever visited Malawi, if I'm not mistaken, at the invite of someone who is turning out to be a rather controversial politician as well, that is the popular Minister of Trade and Commerce, Minister Vitumbuko Mumba of the ruling Conservative Malawi Congress Party. Now, I stress the word conservative here as it will become more relevant later on. But let us read a statement by Prophet Shepherd Bushiri in response to what Ndlozi said. So here is the post. I was astonished to hear that Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi attended a public lecture in Malawi and asked, "Why am I rich?" Seriously, why? How did I even come into your public political lecture? Can't these jealous, poorly rated politicians like him with xenophobic tendencies leave me alone at once? Why so much hate against me? Your question about my worth is nonsensical. Well, with the xenophobia, I don't know whether that's correct to say that, because he is from the EFF and they're far left. They believe in open borders. They wanted South Africa to have open borders so everyone can just come into there. Everyone, as long as if they're Africans, they didn't care. So to say that they're xenophobic, I doubt that very much, because that's not what their political stance represents. You can't bully me in South Africa and expect to do the same here at home. That's some power play there. That was South Africa, and now this is my home ground. You can tell me what to do. You can't advise Malawians to ask me questions about my worth. They are not naive. Is this the reason you betrayed your brother Julius Malema? Next time, focus on politics. I don't know about betrayal, because EFF has gone through a rough time, especially in the past year. They did not do well at all in the elections, because they really did not go beyond their core support. I think they were the third or the fourth party. They were beaten by MK party, actually, to the third position. Of course, an inquisition would have followed. Why are we in this position? And there would have been a difference of opinions with the direction where the EFF should head to. So I think there would have been an exchange of, of views and disagreements. And as a result, there is an exodus of the EFF, especially the political leaders, joining the MK party. But Mbuyiseni has not joined any political party. He's sort of pivoted into the private sector. So I think betrayal may not be as accurate. To answer your question, Malawians know why I'm rich. I help the poor and create jobs. Again, that's not the question that's been asked. Why are you rich? You don't say I help the poor. Because I help the poor and create jobs. Everyone would want to do that, isn't it? But why or how are you rich, you say, oh, look, I've done ABC, I do these businesses, I was doing this and that, now I get money through ABC. That's how you answer that question, isn't it? But to say that I'm rich because I help the poor and create jobs, I don't think it's the correct answer. If someone asks me, what do you do with your money? And you say, oh, well, I help the poor and create jobs, that would make more sense. So maybe he missed the question there. This past year alone, I created over 5,000 jobs at my farms and Goshen City project. I don't know about the figure 5,000. He may or may not have done that. Especially his farm is huge. It's actually a big, impressive farm. So maybe 5,000 jobs is not a stretch. And the Goshen City project is building a city along the Lake Malawi, Lakeshore area. So it looks good. It looks good. If it comes out as it does on the rendering, then yeah, it's going to be a beautiful city. I do not know how far the city in terms of infrastructure development has gone to, because I haven't really checked it out recently. But when I checked it, was it last year? It was still very much in the early phases of the construction. But he does have that vision, and it looks good. And he continues and he says, "What about you in South Africa?" I think that's just to say, look, I do this, I do that, I create jobs and that, what have you done? Or he could have just said, well, you are just good at talking, or you're just a politician, you're just an activist, you haven't done much, isn't it? That's how I would interpret it, because it says, what about you in South Africa? Like, what have you done? So, well, he didn't start the fight, he's just responding to what he was accused of. So then if you go to Malawians, what are they saying? Certainly, Prophet Shepherd Bushiri is not as popular in Malawi as he is in South Africa, or as he was in South Africa. Nah, I don't think so. But most Malawians back Bushiri, for the most part, because he is Malawian, isn't it? So they wouldn't want any Malawian to be sent to South Africa to answer that kind of case. I mean, if he was a murderer or something nasty, they would not have a problem. But in this particular instance, I think Bushiri has a lot of backing from Malawians. No one expected the courts to actually rule that he had a case to answer in South Africa and they should be extradited there. Nobody. The fact that the verdict went against Bushiri was rather controversial. And we have seen people, presenting letters and petitions for him not to be extradited into South Africa. I don't believe that the appeal court would uphold that ruling. I think they'll overturn it and say, you can't extradite him. I believe so. So here I select a few comments on social media. I think it's rather representative of what most Malawians think from what I've seen. So anyway, this gentleman, Mr. Bob Chinkango, says, yeah, I think Honorable Ndlozi goofed on Bushiri, and I verily believe so. It's very biblical. He was a member of parliament and vocal, so to say, yet he never stood up on one day to question the source of Frederick de Klerk's worth. A bit of a stretch, isn't it? Mbuyiseni was not in the same parliament as Frederick de Klerk. I mean, those are old school politicians. Isn't he passed away a long time ago now? You can't really go, yeah, why didn't you ask about Frederick de Klerk? I mean, come on. Ndlozi and others are well known for causing waves in the August House in South Africa and that are admired by many. That's true. They were very disruptive, weren't they? I think they've toned down their approach this time around. They probably want to be seen as a more serious party. But not a single day he singled out Vincent Mantabo or Sifon Kosi or Sako Mankozama, all of whom are rich South African politicians. No comments. I do not know those politicians. Those are the politicians who got rich with taxpayers' money in his own land, not Bushiri. Fair point. I have so much love and respect for Honorable Ndlozi, whose oratory is weaved with humor and intellect, something most politicians lack. Yeah, he's rather, a charming guy and he knows how to deliver speeches, that's for sure. While he never took time to question the real problem of politicians getting rich at the expense of the poor, and yet thought it was the right place to question a non-politician who is not stealing any taxes and was never voted into office. I tend to disagree with that. Church leaders and politicians, when it comes to finances, they should be scrutinized, even at the very same level. Even the church leaders should be more scrutinized, because The church leaders are the ones we expect them to lead us. They are faith leaders, right? They're examples. Politicians are proven not to be very good role models, but with church leaders, they tend to be like their moral compass. So then we should scrutinize the finances if we think that the church is misusing funds. And this has been very common, let's face it, especially with Pentecostal churches, that they have had ministers or pastors that came in from nowhere, started the church, and all of a sudden they were there in terms of finances, and then they are there. They have, fancy cars, you name it. They have aircrafts and stuff like that. And you wonder, where did you get this money from? So to say that we should not scrutinize them, I think it's incorrect. They should be scrutinized. I don't agree with that. Honorable Ndlozi, you know whom you should have questioned, but I guess you chickened out for the obvious reasons. So as he said already, Ndlozi should have questioned other politicians in South Africa. Fair point. Now, Wendy Favor Harawa is a Malawian singer, very famous singer there. So she says, foolish boy. I mean, Ndlozi is like 40 years old now, or just about there. You can't call him a foolish boy. I mean, I find that disrespectful. You can't be calling a grown man foolish boy for expressing an opinion, isn't it? Why can't he go on South Africa TV and ask Patrice Motsepe why he is rich? Again, why would you ask Motsepe why he is rich? I mean, the answer is glaring obvious. He is a businessman. I think that's just not right. And this gentleman, Hoppings Masanga, said, Prophet Shepherd Bushiri is a brand you can't fight and get away like that. I am disappointed in you, Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. Instead of a public lecture, you came with your xenophobic and racist maybe views here in Malawi. You can't bully Major One in his own country, no ways. As I said, the xenophobia and the racist, I mean, the man is African, he's black man. Malawi is black man. I don't know where the racist issue is coming from. You can't bully Major One in his own country, no ways. Why is he rich? I think he's just sort of paraphrasing what Prophet Shepherd Bushiri wrote on his page. The answer is simple. He's afraid of being poor because he was once a poor person and he wanted to taste the sweetness of the other side of becoming rich. That's interesting. It's very interesting how he expresses his opinion. To taste the sweetness of the other side of becoming rich. Are we still talking about the money here? I don't think he's at the position. I don't think he's in at the position of explaining about himself becoming rich. You doubt him, then just gather enough and relevant evidence and prosecute him in the court of law, not in a public court where rules aren't fair. Fair point. If you have got beef with somebody and if you have evidence, it's just better to go to the courts, get the case going. Or must remember that was actually the case that he was being tried on in South Africa. He escaped, remember, because his life was in danger as well. So you can't really, put down a man for escaping a place where he thinks his life is in danger, and you can't really criticize him for that. I mean, he had every reason to escape, isn't it? Like, if people are going to kill you and you have enough reasons and you feel like the state is not protecting you and your family, what are you going to do? You're just going to say, oh yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Well, we'll see what happens. They're going to kill you. So can I just escape? I have the opportunity to do that. Well, if I was in his shoes, I would also run away. Okay, unless the government of South Africa reassures me that they're going to give me 24 hours protection and I'll be safe, then that's another case. But if I don't have that reassurance, I don't actually see that reassurance in action, then I'm going to run away. So then he goes on, if you ask somebody about how she get wealthy, the same person or the same question should be applied to you. How and why are you still poor up to date? I don't know. Isn't Ndlozi poor? I didn't think he was. I thought he was doing well for himself. Maybe this guy knows him more than we do, but that's an opinion or that's his observation. Am I surprised by Malawi's support towards Bushiri? No, I'm not. And now let's go to what Ndlozi was doing in Malawi. He was invited to the country by Vitumbuko Mumba, who is also the Minister for Trade and Industry in Malawi for the governing party. Minister Mumba has recently risen in the political spice in Malawi at a breakneck speed. It is only last year when he contested for the ruling Malawi Congress Party's vice presidency, seemingly out of nowhere. He lost the position to a more established candidate, but such was his impact that he remains one of the leaders in MCP and was then made Minister for Labour late last year. And then a few months later, he was recently moved to the Ministry for Trade and Industry to essentially fix the country's out of control prices of goods and services, which falls under his ministry. Now, the reason why he was moved to that ministry to fix things is because he has been known for his blunt and aggressive style of leadership. He often goes around in person to companies closing businesses here and there who are flouting labor laws, or now he goes around demanding for prices of goods to be reduced if he thinks it's not fair on Malawians. So he's more of an action-orientated person. Some like it, especially ordinary Malawians, but party stalwarts do not like his style because since his coming to MCP into prominence in the Malawi Congress Party, he seems to be dominating the politics there. Obviously, the established political bureaucracy there not happy at all. So his style is different. So why don't they like it? His party, the Malawi Congress Party, one reason is that it is the oldest and well-established political party of all the political parties in Malawi. It has thrived on tradition and protocol. It is the party of Malawi's first president and founder, Dr. Kamuzu Banda, who was a strict disciplinarian and ultra-conservative. That is the inheritance of the MCP and the DNA of the party. Now, Minister Mumba is what we call a disruptor. He does things outside the norms of the political party. Not bad, just what the party is not used to. Now, Minister Vitumbuko Mumba's work ethic has ruffled some feathers, to say the least. Now, the invitation of Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is another of those examples of not following the party's norms. It is the first time such a speaker has been invited by a politician in Malawi, let alone the MCP. Additionally, Ndlozi is a far-left politician and an activist, a progressive. I would say everything the MCP is not. So I'd bet Minister Mumba's invitation to Ndlozi did not sit well with the Malawi Congress Party. So it looks like he invited him in his own personal capacity. However, at this point, where do you draw the line where MCP ends and the individual entity begins? Very difficult, because in the eyes of Malawians, the minister is part of the MCP and everything he does represents the Malawi Congress Party. So anyway, back to Ndlozi. For the most part, as expected, he delivered a stirring speech. He does have a gift for delivering emotionally charged speeches, and little no wonder the university hall was rocking throughout his speech. Perhaps he should have stayed away from the Bushiri story. There are many MCP leaders who are Bushiri followers, so this would not have gone down well with them. It was a great visit by Ndlozi, but personally his visit has been marred by his comments on Bushiri. That's what I think anyway. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace, I'm out.